Okay, no problem. We can get started. If other people jump on, great. If not, then you're getting a one-on-one session. So
Okay, do you prefer I put my camera on or is it okay if it's off?
whatever you'd like. I'm hoping this will be somewhat interactive. So if you want to jump on the camera, that'd be cool. But
All
if not,
right, hold on 1 second. Let me get that set up. All
there we go.
right, nice
Can
to
I
meet
ask
you.
where you're located or how you found this?
Sure, I'm in West Hempstead. I saw you had posted like on the West Hempstead group or something on
Okay,
Facebook. It looked
cool.
really interesting. So, like, let's give it a try.
All right, awesome.
Do
Cool.
you
So
live in West Hempstead?
I do live in West Hempstead.
Okay, well, hopefully I'll see you around.
Yeah, that'd be great. So let's jump in. So this is
Okay.
Parenting in the Age of AI. My
Mm-hmm.
name is Josh Varon, and originally from New York, certainly an AI geek. Now I have my own consulting firm, small business operations, as well as AI. Before
Mm-hmm.
that, I was the senior director of operations for North America for a global tech company. In that role, I was an AI ambassador. And so I was rolling out AI to the entirety of North America for the company, everyone on the business side. So I was working with HR and legal and finance and delivery teams for them to understand, like, great, we have AI. What do we do with it?
Mm-hmm.
How do we use it? So that was my role. Before that, I was the chief operations officer for a boutique consulting firm.
Mm-hmm.
In that role, I managed the acquisition into this global tech company. And and I have two kids. I have a 3-year-old and next month a 5-year-old.
Oh,
And
wow.
yeah, so it's fun and it's also interesting and it's also scary because we are in like really we're like in this whole new world. Uh,
Exactly. I have an 8-year-old and a 5-year-old. So while I'm not necessarily like with teenagers where it's more worrisome, like I want to get ahead of the curve here,
yeah,
like what to expect. And I don't want to like be a helicopter parent and see what they're doing every minute on their phones or whatever.
it's it's a tough place to be. It really it's very
Hmm.
tough. I'll just like the other day, so on your phone you can, I mean now on the computer also, but on the phone you can literally talk with Chat GPT and it'll talk
Oh,
back.
wow.
And
Okay.
we were getting in the car and my son's like, he asked me something. I think he asked like, what's dude? So I just picked up the phone. I was like, explain the origin of the word dude. And I handed him the phone. And we were only driving 4 minutes. By the time we got out of the car, he had had a 4-minute conversation with this thing. And he's like, when? And I was like, we got to go. He's like, when can I talk to him again? And I was like him, like it's a computer. And so like I tried to explain and I was like, you know what? And he asked a few times, he's like, can I talk to it again? And I was like, I really need to talk to your mom. Like we need like we need to talk about it. It's a weird thing and it's a new thing.
Yeah, like
So
we've had that with like Alexa or Siri or something like
yeah,
that.
but this is the conversation we're having right now. We could be having with an AI. Like you
I
saying
promise,
things
I'm a
like,
real person.
yeah. So it's a strange place.
Yeah.
Um, so the goal of this session workshop is really there's some foundational and some strategic. So one is just understanding AI, and we can talk about where you're at with that. The importance of AI literacy, answering any questions, and then on the strategic side, just, practical steps that you can take, and hopefully this is addressing some concerns.
Hmm.
So we'll talk about what AI is. We'll talk about introducing AI to kids and vice versa. And then we can do a little demo in Chat GPT. I can show you some things that I do with my kids. And feel free to ask questions as we go.
Awesome.
So I guess even before I jump into this, maybe you could tell me like where are you at with AI? Are you using Chat GPT? Have you played with AI at all, or this is all relatively new?
So I do chat GPT for a little bit. I'm personally a software developer at a
Okay.
wealth management firm.
Okay.
So, and they're very open with it. They're like, use chat GPT. It's a very lucrative tool. Like if you don't know how to do something, just ask it, utilize it.
Hmm.
Um, so I've just been using it for a couple of months just to kind of, I hit a roadblock with coding.
Hmm.
I'll ask chat GPT what to do. And then a lot of times it's a little long. I say that didn't work. It comes up with other
Yeah.
solutions. So it's been very helpful.
Cool.
Um, like my husband will usually be like, hey, give me a recipe that includes this and this, and it'll throw it back to him. So definitely useful.
Okay.
Um, but I don't use it heavily, and definitely my kids have not. They don't, I think, even know it exists.
Okay. Got it. And can I make the assumption you're using the free version?
Yeah.
Okay. That's fine. A lot of people are. So we'll look at some of the things that the paid version of just ChatGPT. I mean, there are lots of other tools out there, but we'll look at just the paid version of ChatGPT and some of the things that you can do with it that you can't do in the free version that are
Okay.
pretty cool. So, when I think of AI and GPTs and generative AI, I think firstly, like this is a tool, and largely at this point, this is an efficiency tool. And I think that's going to change over time, but right where we're at this point in time, it's really an efficiency tool is largely how I see it. And it sounds like that's what you're using it for, right? Like you're hit a roadblock with the code, and so you can use it. You want a recipe, you can pull it up.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I think, the next step past like, a Google search type of thing or helping with like quick things is using it as a thought partner. And I found this really helpful. I will tell it, ask me questions about something, and it'll help me think through a process. I had it interview me the other day. I posted this on LinkedIn. I said like, interview me. I'm an AI consultant. Interview me on parenting in the age of AI, and we had a conversation and it was surreal. It was crazy. And the questions were good questions. So, I'm using it a lot more as a thought partner, like even putting together this presentation, like help me come up with ideas, give me an outline, give me some structure, challenge me, right? Like push me on it. So, that's a big way I'm using it. And then as a creative engine, I mean, I'll show you some of the images that I've created with my kids and things like I can draw right, I can use a computer and put some stuff together. I can put a PowerPoint presentation together, but this is next level. And so from a creativity point of view, I mean, we'll go outside and I'll take a picture of something and I'll say, tell me what this is. I'm a 5-year-old. And it'll tell me what the tree is. It'll tell me what the wasp's nest on the floor is. It'll tell me like, so I think it's really helping there. And then yeah, you can use it like Google, right? Like you can search anything. Um, why is this important? Like why is this a pressing matter for us, but really for our children? And I think the biggest answer is it's here. There's no going back, right? Like there's no turning back the computer, there's no turning back the internet, and now there is no turning back AI. It is all over our lives, right? We're using Siri, we're using Alexa, we're using the shopping cart at the supermarket. We're using it to buy things, we're using it to get data. Teachers are using it, not as much as I'd like, but teachers are using it to teach our children. And so I think that's the biggest answer. It's important because it's here and it's not going anywhere and it's only growing. Um, it's important because these are skills our kids are going to need to know, right? Like I say future skills on this slide, but it's today's skills. If I have an intern and he was telling, I was like, how are you using it in school? Like, what are your teachers saying about it? And he said, like, the teachers say don't use Chat GPT. And one, that kills me because we have this amazing tool at our fingertips, and to not use it would be crazy. And two, it is the future and it's here. So why would we not use it? So I said to him, I was like, what are you doing? And he's like, of course I'm using I mean, he's interning with me and we're building chatbot. Like, he's like, of course I'm using it. And I said, so how are you managing this? And he pulled up a bunch of these sites and he's like, this site I use to take everything I've generated in ChatGPT and rewrite it so it doesn't sound like AI. He's like, and then this site I'm using to check, and it says how much of this was written by AI. And he said, as long as it's like 30% or less, if I need to tweak something, then I'm using that and I'm submitting it. And so there's going to be this war between the educators and those being educated on, who can use it more effectively. But again, it's here and it's present. And so they need to know how to use it. And there's also the bad side. There's the dark side of AI. And so we want to be training our children to use it for positive use cases, right? And to be using it the way it should be used, right? Not using it to cheat on the homework, but using it to support the education to finish the homework, right? There's a very big difference. Um, Creativity we spoke about a little, but I think this is a gateway into being able to create unbelievable things. I have a friend who's in Harvard who's teaching music using AI. You know, I'm sure like art teachers are using it all over the place to create things. So, and just for the kids, like they come up with stuff. And I'll show you, we like create coloring pages, we create stories, and then the impact on learning. And there's so many facets to it, right? How the educators are using it, how they're implementing it in the class, how the kids are using it, right? I mean, if I give my son the phone, he's going to be learning, he's going to be figuring out on his own, and he can be doing it in a positive way or a negative way. And so I think that is where, we come in as parents. How can we guide them? And so this is probably the biggest slide in the deck, right? So safety, security, and concerns. And so there's some things that are really general, right? You as a person on this planet, not just a parent, not just your kid, but you're using AI, there are things called hallucinations, right? It might give you bad data, right? It might say something happened that didn't happen. And you need to be aware of that. That's all. Like, awareness is the entirety of the situation. The accuracy of it varies. And so, like you said, with the code, sometimes the code is going to be good. Sometimes it's going to give you an answer that's not quite right. Right. It's your job to make sure and confirm and ensure that what you're getting is accurate. Same thing with Google, right? I mean, I think most of us at this point just assume Google is going to be accurate, right? Or the internet that's there to a degree. Um, so it's our job to make sure we're getting correct information. And then usage, right? So in terms of reliability, there are usage limits, right? Even on a paid account, I think right now for Chat GPT, the paid account, you get 40 messages every 3 hours, right? And I'm paying for this service and still I'm capped. And that usage changes. And all the major tools have this. So just something to be aware of. And their tools and tips to, I'll go to GPT 3.5 for anything sort of like non-consequential or easy. And then I'll use GPT 4 for things that I need more power. Um, Biases and fairness. So again, this is all the AI is based on inputs that people are giving it, right? In ChatGPT's case, that's the entirety of the internet to some degree. And so I don't know if you've heard about Google Gemini recently and their little snafu with attempting to not be biased, but however they coded their AI tool, I think in an attempt to remove bias, they in fact created some awkward situations, right? So you saw the images of the people who didn't quite fit in the outfit. So, you have those things, and those are actually the good ones, right? Because those are really easy. Those you see and you're like, something's not right here. Versus the more subtle ones where you may not notice. And so it's really important to be very attentive when using these tools. And then personal information, it's just something that depending on the tool, they have different security documentation and they'll say we are or we are not using your information. My rule, it's the same as the internet. I'm not putting my social security on the internet. Like it's just not happening. I'll put my resume. Anyone can see my resume, no problem there. But anything that I wouldn't want publicly available, I'm not putting into AI at this point, and that might change down the line. Um, Usage, right? And this is more geared towards the kids, but it's really for everyone, right? Like what type of usage? How are they using it? How much are they using it? Do they understand the AI, right? Like, does my son who is talking to the phone understand that the person on the other end of the line is not a person, and how do I address that? And so a lot of it is just going to be communication, communication with him, communication with his educators, communication with my family, anyone involved should be in this conversation. And then, whoops, beyond that is just sort of outside influences, right? I'm not with my kids most of the day. My guess is you're not with your kids most of the day. And so what are they doing in school? Right. And this is obviously like a general parenting question overall, not specific to AI, but even more so now, right? Like, how are they using it? Right. I would be pretty upset if they were having full-on conversations with AI at school and I didn't know about it. Not that it's wrong, just I would like to have some say in those decisions. So it's there's a lot coming. There's a lot coming at us. So what can you do, right? Like what are some strategies that you can do to help support your children in this new world that we're living in? And I think probably the biggest one is just educating yourself, right? Like with anything else, use the tools, try them out. It sounds like you're doing that, which is great. Watch the videos, keep an eye on the news, take the classes, show up to these kind of webinars, right? Like this is I think the most important tool your children will have. And the last bullet there is involve those like the educators, right? So my son goes to Chestnut and I've already spoken to the principal and the assistant superintendent about running courses for the staff, the teachers, the students, because, the stats are out. As of a couple months ago, I think 59% of educators were still not using AI. And like 20% of them said they don't intend to. That's a problem. That's concerning. Not to mention, like, in my opinion, it's for their benefit. Both my parents taught for many years, and I showed them. I was like, "You want to see me spin up a lesson plan in 30 seconds?" They were knocked on. I mean, it was like they couldn't believe it. Oh, it looks like there's someone else here. Um, they were floored. They were absolutely floored. And I think that I have a friend who his wife teaches, and I was on a business call with him, and he's like, "Hey, can you show my wife some of this stuff?" And I was like, "What do you want to make a lesson plan on?" And we just did it live right there, and she was astounded. So, I'm hoping educators are going to be more involved. Um, Educating, engaging with your kids. Like I was saying before, it's important to be, hello, Sheila. It's important to involve them in learning, right? So I work from home. My kids often will come up to me and be like, "Oh, like, what are you working on?" And I need to resist that urge, like, I'm working, like I don't have time for this. Um, but have them sit down and have them play with it and switch from putting together a presentation like this to creating some fun images. Um, there are specific tools that are geared towards kids that are AI friendly. Um, Got a typo over there, but you can implement parental controls as well, which I'm doing sort of custom, and I'll show you how I do that. And then I think a lot of it boils down to monitoring, right? Like just like you wouldn't just set your kid in front of the computer and say, go enjoy the internet. I think it's the same thing here. And beyond that, it's just continuing to stay aware, right? Because this is, I don't know if you saw Sora. You know what I'm talking about? So I'll pull that up also. So Sora is the probably rolled out a couple of weeks ago. It's the video generation tool from OpenAI, and it's not publicly available. Um, but if you're in the stock footage industry, I would strongly recommend looking for a new career because the video generation they're doing is just my guess is you won't be able to tell. I can't tell. You know, besides for the one where it was like prehistoric creatures, where I was like, oh, that's not real. Um, it's astounding. So, uh, let's let's jump into ChatGPT. Okay. So there are a couple things. So one thing is in a paid in your account, you can go into customize ChatGPT. And in here you have two sections. You have custom instructions and how you would like ChatGPT to respond. And so sometimes what I'll do if I'm gonna like if I was to let my kids be playing with this on their own, which my kids aren't old enough, but it sounds like your kids might be. And Sheila, I don't know if you have kids and how old they are, but you can put in here a line of, almost like a prompt saying, um, if anything inappropriate is requested, just say no, go talk to your parents. And so I have like a block of text that I created, but I'll just put something in here just so you can see. So okay, we'll see how well this one works. And I'll show you even on 3.5. Okay. So I need to refine the prompt a little bit, but I can send this prompt out. But the point is that you have some flexibility in how it's going to respond to you.
Josh, you spelled any wrong. Would that fix it, you think?
So the typo shouldn't really impact it too much. Let me see if I can just pull it up quickly, the one that I have.
I'm just wondering, do you have to define what inappropriate is?
You can, so I could say something like you know,
Like
kids
like would
are 3 and 5
ChatGPT know
years.
what inappropriate means?
Let's see. So my kids are 3 and 5 years old. If they request any.
This is great. I didn't know you could do that with ChatGPT.
The problem is if your kid is 8 years old, they're going to be smart enough to go into the settings and change it, right? So that's where it gets a little bit dicey. But I think and right, obviously my kids aren't old enough to do it. So we can try once more and see.
Yeah, even my 5-year-old, he can read, so he
Right.
navigate. He has his 8-year-old sister to show him what to do.
I need to finagle with it more. I have a prompt that I wrote that actually does work very well for this, but just the idea that you have it. Let's jump to a couple of other things. So, here are some ways that I'm using with my kids. So I'll put in a prompt that says, "Tell me a story that is 2 minutes long and geared towards a 4-year-old." And usually, if I'm sitting with them, I'll say it should include, and I'll ask them for whatever they want to include. And they'll say pizza and dinos and trucks and rockets and unicorns, which my daughter almost always will say. And I can say, make it really creative. and it's going to write this. This is easy. This you can do in 3.5. And you can customize it however you want. But what's cool is, and Sheila, maybe you can tell me a little bit where you're at with AI. Are you using AI? Are you using ChatGPT? Are you using a paid version?
Um, yeah, sure. I'm using ChatGPT at home. It's great, and I like to use Copilot for Bing.
Okay.
I started talking to it. I was in a Ali Miller training, and she said you should just talk to it to everybody. So I started doing that with just people, and it's been great.
Awesome.
Hmm.
Awesome.
Oh, and
And
I also use Night Cafe too to make images.
okay, nice. Nice. Um, so are you familiar with ChatGPT's GPT store at all? And
I
this is
haven't used it yet. I've know about it, and I know that there's every GPT in the world that you could imagine, but I haven't played around with it yet.
so, and this is something I go into further in depth in another session I run about specifically about GPTs, but just high level, imagine this is the App Store. Everything is free
Yep.
and there are a million apps. And so you have ones like specifically to create images, ones for writing. ChatGPT has built their own and they have all different ones. And they have all different stuff, right? Help you negotiate,
Yep.
help you with tech support, help you with your plants, help you with coloring books. So you have all these GPTs. And so one of the things that's nice is right now I'm in regular chat GPT 4, but what I can do is I can call upon another GPT, anything from the GPT store, as long as I've pinned it here, used it recently. So I'll call up this one called Cosmic Dream and I'll say, make an image out of this story. And Cosmic Dream basically comes up with these like really colorful, almost psychedelic images typically. And you could give it an image and then say, create an image based on this, which is fun. But you could also give it any input, even if it was a short prompt. But now I'm using this entire story and saying generate an image. And obviously we didn't read this story, but we saw what the key elements are, right? So
Right.
the dinosaurs, trucks, rockets, unicorns. I think it basically nailed every single one, right?
I
And
think you
it's
should save it for tonight's story.
I love it.
right. So
Um,
yeah, go ahead.
is it only on ChatGPT 4 then, or can I
The
access the GPTs on 3.5 too?
the GPT store and images are both part of GPT-4. Uh,
Okay. So I'll just share my account with my husband or something.
yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
thank you.
So you have that. You have, I mean, there are plenty of image generators and varying quality, varying style. Some are free, some are paid.
Hmm.
Um, Facebook has one called Imagine that is, I would say it's a good kid friendly one. Like the style is more kid friendly. But the one that's built into ChatGPT, DALL-E,
Hmm.
is really fantastic. And you can see this is I mean, DALL-E is in the background of this cosmic dream. Um, but other stuff you could do, right? We can switch into yet another GPT, and you don't need to switch into another GPT. You could prompt GPT-4 to do it. But these GPTs, each one is built with a specific purpose. And so for me, it's worthwhile to use them. And so we can just jump into this coloring book hero GPT, which is another one that's
Okay.
actually built by the Chat GPT team. And what it'll do is it'll take this story, which has now been turned into an image, and then it'll take this image and turn it into a coloring page, which we will see. Some of them are better than others. You know, the dark and light space in a coloring book page is really important. This one came out pretty good, right?
Oh,
Like
okay.
there's a lot of white space. It has most of the elements that were in the story and in the image, right? It has the pizza, the dinosaurs, the truck, the rockets, the unicorns. Um, and I'll just print this out for my kids in, you know, 20 minutes of activity,
Nice.
right? And you can keep going with this, right? Like you can either prompt it on your own, but you could also keep going with this and jump into more GPTs. So another one, okay, I guess it's not pinned, so it's not pulling up. But, you know, I've done this when I was talking to educators. I'll pull up another GPT called you could do like a lesson planner. We could search for it. Yeah. So there are all these different lesson planners. So now let me go back in and see. No, still not going. That's okay. But you could move it into a GPT lesson planner and then say like, make this. I mean, I don't even need to move it over. I could just say, make this into a lesson plan involving letter T and then number 5. It should be 15 minutes and creative. Right. And so this is still technically, now this is back to Chat GPT or GPT-4, but you have that option. Right. And so this is part of what I'm really pushing for with I'm hopefully going to be speaking in a bunch of the local libraries. I'll be speaking in the West Hempstead Library in I think April, and the Long Island Library Conference in May. And I'm speaking to some of the local schools. I'm hopeful that they're going to be using this because I see the stuff that come, and my kids in a good school. Both my kids are in good schools. They have good teachers. We're happy with what they're getting, but also it's very clear they bought a packet of the letter pages, and so we get one of those every week. This they could create them custom. This they could create, if there's a kid who's a little bit behind in the class, they could create custom stuff for them, and it wouldn't be killer, right? Like if you have 20 kids in your student in your class, fine, it's 20 minutes, right? Like less than it would have taken my parents to create a single lesson plan for the entire class. You could create a custom lesson plan for every single kid if you wanted to. I get that, I'm not saying that's what should be done, but it'd be great if the educators were using this and bringing this into the classroom as well. Right. So you have this kind of stuff. Another thing I'll do is I'll say it's a rainy day. Give me 10 ideas for activities with my 3 and 5-year-old. Ideally with household materials. And this you could do in 3.5 also, right? Like it's not specifically GPT-4. But it's cool because you could pull on every single one of these threads, right? So DIY Play-Doh, make your Play-Doh using this and this and this, right? And then you can say these step-by-step instructions for 2. That's enough. Right. So it's like the never-ending activity generator. So I guess Sheila, what had you join this call? Did you have any specific things you wanted to get into?
No, I just I go into Eventbrite and I see like what has AI in it, and I try to attend all of those, or at least put them on my calendar to see in the if I can or not. So no, I didn't. I'm just pleasantly surprised. Thanks, Josh.
Okay, fantastic. Fantastic. You missed some of the earlier stuff where we're talking a little bit about like security and just generally why this is important. But
Oh, okay.
I guess a lot of it boils down to we're here. There's no going back.
Yep.
Like computers came, the internet came, AI is here, and my perspective, I want my kids to be at the forefront of it, and not in a I don't want it to be a damaging thing where they're on the computer all the time, but I want it to be where they understand. And understanding is tough. I was saying before that my son was literally having a conversation with my phone with ChatGPT,
Hmm.
and it was strange. It was a strange thing because he's 4. He doesn't understand that he's talking to a computer. Um,
Yeah. I,
you know,
um, I I totally agree. We tried to do that initially, and it really takes special prompting. Like we tried to get our kids to talk to ChatGPT and practice their Chinese, and instead instead of the conversation going back and forth, ChatGPT basically said, "Okay, tell me all these fruit and vegetable names," and it translated to Chinese, but
mm,
it gave all 10 of them at the same time. So it wasn't a back and forth conversation. So it completely was a fail. So we have to figure that part out.
yeah. So in my experience,
Hmm.
oh, hello. And then in my experience, I've just cut it off, right? So one of the things I did just to play with the voice feature, which is still, even though I'm in the field, is so strange to me. I said
Right.
interview
Hmm.
me on parenting and AI,
Okay.
and it started, and then it gave me a list of questions, and I was like, no, 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 no. One question that like I'm not going to answer
Right,
all these.
right, right.
I said one
Exactly.
question at a time, and it sort of like glitched out for a second, and then it was like, oh, okay, and then it started asking me the one question at a time.
Oh,
So I
that's
wonder
good.
if it's that simple where you're saying, give me these 10 words that need to be translated, but do them one at a time. Um,
Yeah, or I'll just translate trans ask to translate a word, and then after it asks the first question, then I can write again another one, and then another one, and prompt
yeah,
that way. And I guess that could work too. I haven't tested it that way
the
since.
translator is fantastic though. It compared to Google Translate, it
Oh
is,
yeah, it's pretty good. And the voices too. I love the different voices and the
yeah,
different. I feel like they're completely different characters, and some of those people I want to hang out with, some of them not so much. So and they have like some of them are more professional, so the way they speak
yeah,
is more professional, and my kids don't like it either. So the one that we picked, I think was Breeze or something. It was sounded like a kid, and
yeah.
the way that it explained everything was like very friendly and very kid-like. So we were going. So I go with that one.
Yeah, my kids speak Portuguese.
Mm,
Really, my
nice.
son's first language is Portuguese, and my mother-in-law does not speak one. She says okay, and she says some version of thank you. That is it.
Okay.
And so, if I'm texting her, I'll use Google Translate, and a lot of times it'll literally translate the word, which is totally unhelpful.
Yeah.
Like there's a phrase in Portuguese like talking smack is you
Hmm.
would say
Yeah.
give someone a squash. So, but if I'm trying to write that and I'm saying, yeah, my son was like talking some smack, and
Right.
then but it translates, it's totally unhelpful. But ChatGPT is
It
it totally
understands.
gets context.
Oh, that's good.
So, how you doing, Naeem?
Hello, hi everyone. I'm
Did I
fine,
did I
thank you.
pronounce
Hi.
your name right?
Yes, that's correct.
Cool. How you doing?
Absolutely. I'm good. I'm good. I just joined,
Great.
so enjoying your conversation.
Excellent.
Uh, I'm not really sure. I mean, do I have to introduce or say about my expectation about the event or
You don't have to do anything. You're just welcome to be here, but I guess I'd want to know where are you at with using AI, Chat GPT, anything like that? And also, was there any in particular reason you joined? Was there something you were looking to get out of this?
No, look, I work for a software company, so I work for SAP. They are also very much into AI.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I think this particular topic is more of I accepted more on the personal side. So, because now everywhere this is AI everywhere. So, just wanted to be part of this conversation to see how I can better guide my kids from the education point of view.
Mm-hmm.
I see. I mean, the whole day working from home, I keep talking technology, and most of the time, all this AI, machine learning, robotics, blah blah blah. So kids also, they also listen. They also get some knowledge as well from school. So, and I see. I mean, maybe 10 years back or more, when you were, I mean, parents were telling you about the role models, or you were setting your role models. They were completely different, from today. So now role models are also coming from the AI or a digital world. So I want to learn, I mean, on these two aspects. One is how best I can guide my kids on on the education front,
Mm-hmm.
for the use of AI. Secondly, how I can help them to guide them on the role model side. So one side is completely, uh, I would still call it, or I mean, it's artificial, and other side is natural. So I have to find, maybe they will go for artificial completely, for to have their role models. And my eldest one, she is quite good actually in terms of good in the on the art side. She
Okay.
create a lot of avatar, real handwrite, and want to translate or want to convert them into digital things. So quite, I mean, it will be quite natural that she will be having a role models, or kids will have role models from the AI side, rather than the real people. So those two things were in my mind, and I said, okay, let's be part of this conversation and see what people are talking.
Awesome. Well, that is really helpful, and I'm glad you're here. Let me, and I know this is a little bit of a repeat, but I'll just jump to this slide, and I'll leave it in slide mode. So I guess here are some of the strategies that I've come up with as far as just engaging with my kids. I have a 3 and a 5-year-old, as far as AI. And I think the most important one is really educating yourself. It sounds like you're in the field. Obviously, you're at a session like this, so this is something important to you, that they're going to have what they need. So watch some of the YouTube videos, keep an eye on the news, join classes like this. And then the other thing that I've been pushing is involve the other people in your kids' lives, right? So I went and spoke to the school that my son is in and the school that my daughter is in to see if I can work with the kids directly, right? Do a session for them and help them understand, but also working with the staff and with the educators so that they know what's going on, right? At the 3 and 5-year-old level, there are different concerns, but I have an intern who's in Brooklyn College, and he was telling me, like, there's the beginning of maybe a battle between educators and those being educated, and how AI is going to impact what they're doing. Right. And so my perspective is, when I spoke to my intern about this, I was like, you're the only one who loses if you cheat, frankly, right? Like, if you have AI do all of your assignments and you learn nothing, like, that's only going to negatively impact you. The teacher it doesn't really impact them. So, how do we promote using AI to help rather than use it to cheat? Or what he told me is his teachers are saying don't use it at all, which is, besides the fact that it's crazy, it's absolutely not going to happen. So I think those are some things. The other thing is sitting with your kids, right? I work from home and my kids will often come up to me and say, "What are you doing?" If I'm in a meeting or something, I try and try and steer clear, but if I'm working in the evening or something and they come up and see what I'm working on, I'll stop and I'll sit down and I'll show them, like, here, we can use AI. Let's make a story. What do you want in the story? You want pizza? You want dinosaurs? Let's put it in, and then I'll say, you want to create some images? Great. Let's create some images. Tell me what you want to see. And my son is fierce. I mean, he was like, I want a dinosaur with a cat sitting on it with fire on their hat in a boat. And I did. And he's like, well, that's not the right dinosaur, you know? But fine. So we iterate, right? And he has the opportunity to see how this works because this isn't just put in a single prompt and you get everything you want. Soon it will be, I'm sure, right? Especially like Anthropic rolled out their prompt tool. So you can put in a prompt and then it'll help you write a better prompt. It's a game changer, I mean, they were talking about this recently that all the people who were making 350 a year as prompt engineers 6 months ago, they're going to be out of a job in 6 months, right? Like it's changing that quickly. Um, there are AI tools geared towards kids, right? So that's another way to approach this. Parental controls, I ineffectively showed how to use those earlier on, but just quickly, you have the option to go into settings, so customize ChatGPT, and you can add in a line here saying to automatically kick back any inappropriate requests. This one wasn't a very good one, but I have one that does in fact work. And then the other thing I found, when my son was talking on the phone to ChatGPT, it got a little weird for me. And so I said, the next time we got in the car and he's like, "Oh, can I talk to it again?" I said, "No, like I need to talk to your mom about this and see how we're gonna proceed because it's fine. The AI is here, right? If I need to take a little bit of time to process and to address and speak with my partner on how we're going to proceed with the education of our children regarding this tool, there's no problem there, and even if he gets upset, like it's for his benefit. So I think taking time and engaging with those around is good, and then getting them training. I'm going to be running sessions for adults at the library, but hopefully the Elmont library over here is going to have me to do sessions for children as well. I'm hoping to be in the schools, in the Hempstead school district in the not too distant future, and there's a way that they can learn to use it responsibly. And I think there are people in the space like myself who are really focused on this. So I think that's really helpful. And then the last thing is be aware, right? Like just continue to be involved, continue to be involved with them. Patience. I mean, I think that's more of a general parenting tip. Patience is really key. Um, so those are some thoughts on what you might be able to do. As far as the role models, I don't know. I don't even know. I mean, you can chat with any personality, live or dead at this point, right? Like there are chat bots. If you want to speak to Steve Jobs or Einstein, you can do it. How will that play into role models, and how will, and I'm sure speaking to them is only, days or weeks away. And speaking to a live avatar is, probably a couple months away if they don't exist already. So how do you address the role models? Monitoring. Like it sounds so helicopter parent, and maybe worse, but WhatsApp has built-in AI, right? Like everyone who has a phone has WhatsApp. Facebook has AI. Your browser has AI. And so, short of just really keeping an eye on them and doing your best to guide them, I don't know that there's much that can be done. Like it's democratized to children as well. And again, it's the same as the internet. And I think that the protocols need to be the same as well. Like, I don't intend on letting my kids just sit on the computer or on their phone without any supervision. And maybe that's because I have little kids and I'm about to get a real hard lesson soon. But I think with AI, it's the same sort of deal. So I hope that was helpful.
Yeah, thank you for sharing.
So we're coming towards the end of the hour. Was there anything else in particular that any of you wanted to dig into?
Not really. I didn't really know what to expect going into this. I was more interested to see what you had to offer. I think this was good.
Okay.
And I think it was like really the first time, other than work, hearing someone talk positively about AI and how it can benefit the population. So it's nice to hear it from that vantage point. Because I
Yeah.
think most people are scared, like you mentioned, like the educators, people are scared to embrace it. So it was refreshing to hear it from the other side.
Thank you. And don't get me wrong, I'm terrified. Like, I I don't know what the percentage is, but Terminator is definitely a percentage in my mind.
Did you
Oh.
see
Oh.
did you see the new robot too?
Which
The
one?
fig
The
the
Boston
figure?
Dynamics? Or oh,
No, the
the one.
figure one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Open AI figure. They
It's
they connected. They're working together. So there's this robot um and it's pretty interesting. I mean, I would like one maybe in blue, but it's kind of interesting.
yeah.
Scary too.
Yeah, I think again, I mean it's so easy to compare to the internet, right? Is the internet good or bad? Is the internet scary or amazing? Yes. Like my opinion, yes, to all of it. And I think the same is true here, that, there's a lot of possibility in the right hands. And my perspective is we're here. And so we might as well lean into it and make the best of it and do the best that we can to ensure all the good stuff rather than the negative side. I did say I would show you Sora also. So this is Sora. This is OpenAI's website. This video was created with AI, as was this one,
Hmm. I see that one.
right? Obviously not real, but stunning.
Yeah.
This is a movie trailer. And this is the prompt, by the way. Just this little prompt right here. I would go see this movie, no question.
Hmm.
Nor would I have any idea that this wasn't a real person.
Yeah, this one's
Yeah.
pretty amazing.
Right? If you're in the stock footage game, like you're gonna tell me you can tell this is real or not. Like maybe if you really looked closely, but I can't tell.
Yeah, it looks like it came from a Disney movie.
Yeah. Right. And obviously this isn't real, but it's pretty fantastic. So alrighty. Well, if you don't have any other questions, I will say thank you. I appreciate you coming. And then I will also let you know that I have some other sessions. I haven't put them on the calendar yet.
I was
But
just going to ask about that, Josh. What else
yeah,
do you have?
yeah. So I've run the intro to AI and using Chat GPT a bunch of times. And that's really the basics. What is AI? Prompting, prompt patterns, and then just use cases, right? You want to plan a trip, you want to book a recipe, you want to take a picture of your, I mean, there's a GPT that does this where you can take a picture of your fridge and say, give me a recipe based on what's in here. And then, so it's that kind of stuff, but it's really just the basics. And then the GPTs learning from existing models and building your own is looking at some of the GPTs like we did today, but it's going further into it and showing some of the other ones, showing ones that I think are really quality GPTs and the interactions. And then it's also getting into building a GPT of your own, right? And so we'll build one during the session. If the people in the session have an interest, we can build one that, you know, someone wants to build. If not, I can show you some of the ones that I've built and explore how I did it and how we got to the output we get. So those are what I have now. Certainly, if you have other topics that you'd like to hear, I'd be interested to hear them because I'm looking for other session ideas. But I think I'm gonna do this in this one in a couple of different ways. I want to have something where I'm providing, but also a space to just talk, because I think it's gonna come up more and more that parents are gonna be running into circumstances with AI that they just don't know how to deal with. So I would like to create a space for that as well.
This is great for parents. I do recommend having more of these kinds of sessions for parents because it's doing two things. It's giving them, making them feel more comfortable around it, and also giving them tips on how to deal with it with their kids.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Great. Yeah, thank you. Anything else from you, Naeem?
No, Josh. Thanks for sharing for everybody. So it was a good and quick one. Really.
Great.
Yeah, thank you for your time. This is
Yeah,
great.
thank you. Cool.
Thank you, Josh. All the best.
All right,
Good luck.
thank you.
Yeah, have a
Thanks.
good day.
Have a great
Thank
day.
you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.